Hey guys, welcome to today's video. I am here for my mid-year eyeshadow palette ranking. It's been a popular video the last couple years where people will rate the eyeshadow palettes that they have tried in an entire year, but I've also seen people doing mid-year rankings. So we are here in July, the year is half over, and I have 12 eyeshadow palettes to share with you. 6 of them I received in PR and 6 of them I purchased myself, and I will specify as we're going. But I thought it would be fun just to kind of rank them so far, and then we'll see at the end of the year as I collect more eyeshadow palettes what we're looking like. If you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Kelly and I love all things makeup and beauty. I love talking, I love makeup, I love talking about makeup. So if you'd like to chat about makeup too, I would love to have you subscribe and be part of the Gay Bella fam. Why don't we go ahead and jump into the video. Before we get started, I'm interested to know what you think my number one palette's gonna be. My number one palette is on my eyes. It is. So let me know down below what you think it's gonna be, okay? But I do have to say, before we start this ranking, there are 2 eyeshadow palettes, one that I purchased and one that I got in PR that I haven't actually tried yet, and I need to do so. So I think I'm going to try and create reels using these eyeshadow palettes. So my daughter just walked in. I don't know where I left off, but there are 2 palettes that I have not used that I need to use before the end of the year. One that I purchased, one that I got in PR. The one that I purchased a while ago. So I'm gonna share these 2 because I guess they would be 11 and 12 just because I haven't used them. So I can't really rank them, right? So first is the Sigma Earthy palette. This is a little 9-pan. I love 9-pan eyeshadow palettes. I love that it's small and compact. I thought this was a fun color story because you have like those green brown vibes. You do have like these fun copper oranges. This green looks beautiful. You have this like grungy olive green. And I just thought that it would be a fun color story. And I still think it's a fun color story. I just haven't used it yet. It's been tucked away. I don't typically wear eyeshadow on a day-to-day basis because life with kids. So I need to try this. I need to try this so that I can actually rank it at the end of the year. That's the one I purchased. The one that I got in PR is from Alter Ego, and it is the Coastal palette. They asked if they could send this out to me. I do plan on creating a look, probably a reel over on Instagram. I think this is supposed to be inspired by the Huda Beauty palette, the one that just went on sale. I can't remember the name of it. I don't have that palette. Rose Quartz? The Rose Quartz palette, I don't have that one. So I think this color story is fun. I have not tried Alter Ego. That is a new brand to me. This one I got more recently. So again, I do need to try those 2 shadows. So they're kind of by default in the 11th and 12th place, but only because I haven't tried them yet. So purchased this one, received this one in PR. Need to leave them out on my vanity over here so that I use them. Moving on to the palettes that I can actually rank because I've tried them. In the number 10 spot, it's not actually a palette that was curated, but a palette that I put together myself, and it is my Odin's Eye single eyeshadows. I did buy this little palette. I do have 5 of the single shades here. They are like the Shifty Duochrome single shadows, and I've talked about these before. I can see my daughter's little fingerprints in here. I don't love this formula. I don't. I am fairly new to Odin's Eye. I know a lot of people love their shimmer formula. I was super excited about these singles. They have some fun shifty shades and some neutrals, and I've used them several times, and I have to use my finger when applying them to get the full opacity that I like, and I don't enjoy using my finger, and I just feel like they're not the best payoff. Again, I would say that's an unpopular opinion. I know so many people who love the Odin's Eye shimmer formula, and so I'm like the odd man out, but that's why this is in the number 10 spot. Following the Odin's Eye singles is going to be, also I purchased that, okay, and I purchased this one too. The number 9 spot is the Odin's Eye Jewels and Gems palette. So they came out with the Jewels and Gems and the Stone and Rock palette. I decided to go with the Jewels and Gems because it's a color story that is unique in my collection. I think that it's a fun color story. I felt like I have the earthy palette that I haven't used yet, you know, tons of greens already, but this is a little bit cooler. We have purples, we have some blues. I just felt like this was a different color story in my collection. I did create a couple looks using this palette, and again, I felt like the mattes were good, they were blendable, they were pigmented. It's the shimmers that I'm not in love with. I feel like there are some that are a little bit chunkier and harder to deal with, like Rhapsody, Gorgeousness, High, but then you have some that are a little bit smoother, like Paradise, Swoon, that maybe give me a little bit more of a payoff, but I just find that I have to use my finger and it's just not my favorite. So I also didn't love the looks that I created with this. If you watch that video, when I go back and look at pictures of the looks, I feel like the looks turned out good. Like they don't look bad, I feel. But at the time, I didn't love them. I didn't love them when they were on my eyes. So that's why this is coming in the number 9 spot. Coming in at number 8 is an eyeshadow palette that I received in PR, and it's coming in the 8th spot, not because of quality of the shadows like the Odin's Eye for me, but because of the color story. And it is the Unearthly Don't Be Jelly palette. I did get this when I went on the Creators and Friends trip to Charleston, and I love these shimmers. I love them. I don't know if you can see just how shifty they are, but they are amazing. The shimmers are amazing. I really love these like purpley shades. This one is really cool. I honestly love the shimmers, but the mattes are very bright for me. The quality is great. They're blendable, they're pigmented. It just is a little bit intimidating for me as I'm wearing this very neutral eye look. I would be more apt to take like a light brown shade, put it in the crease, and then, or even like a mauve shade, and then pick one of these shimmers. So that is the only reason why it's coming in the number 8 spot, because I think the quality is fantastic and I really love indie shimmers. I think that Unearthly does their shimmers and duochromes amazing, so I love the quality. This just is not my typical color story. In the number 7 spot is a palette that I purchased. It is another Odin's Eye palette. This is the Flora Story palette, which was in collaboration with my friend Amanda, or Makeup Just for Fun. I did recently create 2 looks. I don't know if this is up on my channel yet. It will be coming. If it is not, I felt like some of the shimmers actually felt a little bit different to me. Like Best Buds felt a little bit different. Dawn felt a little bit different. Still didn't love Magnolia and Misty, and I haven't tried Lush yet. Again, I think the mattes are great. The shimmers just aren't my favorite formula. But the reason why this is a little bit lower on the scale than the Jewels and Gems or the Odin's Eye singles is that I really love this color story. I really enjoyed the looks that I created with it. I felt inspired. I wanted to create some more looks with it and play with it a little bit more, so that's why it's ranking a little bit higher on the scale. Coming in the number 6 spot, halfway, is a palette that I did receive in PR. Another Unearthly palette. It is the Resurgence collection. This was in collaboration with my bestie, Heather Austin. I love her so much. Like I just got done saying, the formula with Unearthly is amazing. The shimmers are amazing. This is definitely a very Heather Austin color story. I love this for her. I love the looks that she created. I think it's beautiful. The reason why it's like ranking halfway, the number 6 spot, is because this is not the perfect color story for me. I like more like neutral, toned down eyeshadow looks. I'm definitely very intimidated by the blue, the green, the hot pink, the red. The reason why this is ranking lower, I like it more than the Don't Be Jelly, is because I do have this Cerambus shade here. I really enjoy this Life shade, and I'm able to use those to create more of a toned down look. I can put Cerambus in the crease. I can take any of these beautiful shimmer shades, put them on the lid. I do like that I can get a smoky look here. I also did a look where I mixed Cosmology and Nymph to get a purple shade, and so I really enjoyed like mixing the shadows. I just felt like I was more apt to reach for this than the Don't Be Jelly. Again, I love the Unearthly formula. I think it's great. I think their shimmers are amazing, but it's the color story for me that's placing them where they are. Okay, so number 5. We've gone through half of the palettes. In the number 5 spot is another palette that I purchased, and it is from Nomad Cosmetics. This is the Okavango Safari palette. I saw this palette and instantly I was like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. This is my color story. This is my color story. I did recently reach out to Nomad and I asked if I could have a coupon code, so I will put that on the screen. I also have one with Sigma. I'll try and put that on the screen when I'm editing, but all of my coupon codes and everything will be listed down below. But I purchased this myself. I saw the color story and I was like, yes, give it to me. I have the browns, I have the greens, we have these like deeper shades. I'm putting this in the number 5 spot because, again, I feel like the shimmers are not my favorite. I guess I'm pretty particular when it comes to the kind of shimmers that I like. I really want bang for my buck. I really want them to be shiny, but I want to be able to apply them with a brush. I don't want to have to get the best pigment with the finger. And again, I think the quality is great, but I think that these shimmers are best applied with a finger. And so that's why it's coming in the number 5 spot. I am more apt to reach for this than Odin's Eye because of the color story. It is more my color story, but again, it's the shimmers that aren't my favorite. But I think the mattes are super creamy and blendable, and I love the neutrals. In the number 4 spot is another palette I got in PR. This is the ColourPop Heavy Petal palette. I received this palette when we were in Charleston for the Creators and Friends trip. I have used this a handful of times. I know that I like the ColourPop formula. I don't think it's like my best favorite formula ever, but I do like the ColourPop formula, and I just feel like this color story is more my vibe, right? Like, we have the neutrals that I can put in the crease. We have the shimmers that I can put on the lid. There are shades that I'm not gonna gravitate toward, like Feeling Grounded. I'm not really gonna gravitate toward. Thrive is a little bit of a chunkier shade, but if you take those out, I mean, you get this fun iridescent pop. It is more of like a neutral vibe, a neutral palette. And so I think that it's a great one to have in my collection. It's a fun color story. I think you have some fun shades here, and that's why this is coming in the number 4 spot. In the number 3 spot is another palette that I got in PR, and another palette that I received while we were on the Creators and Friends trip, and another palette from ColourPop. It is this big one here in Bare Necessities. This is a large palette. I don't typically reach for large palettes like this very often, but looking at this color story, this is my kind of color story. I used this palette several times while we were in Charleston, and I just really enjoy the looks that I've created. I feel like this Revel shade almost looks like it's fallen out and been pressed back in. This did travel with me. It traveled to Charleston, it traveled to me. This is more my vibe. This is more my color story. You have a large assortment of neutral shades. If I were to rank this in like all of my palettes, I don't know that it would rank as high up as like the number 3 spot, just because I don't reach for large palettes like this. But overall, in the palettes that I've gotten this year, I do really enjoy this one. I can create a ton of looks, and I think the formula is good. Now we are in the top 2, and I will be interested to do this again at the end of the year, because I feel like my top 2 really could hang by the end of the year. I really feel like they could, because I truly enjoy these 2 eyeshadow palettes. First, in the 2nd spot, our runner-up is from Sigma Beauty, and it is their collaboration with Angela Bright. Again, I do have a coupon code. It's just KBella. Will save you 10% if you want to purchase. I don't know if it works on collabs, but I received this in PR. I got this palette along with her brushes and some of her lashes, and honestly, at first, I was intimidated because my eyes are drawn to the middle of the palette and this shade here, where you do have these bright colors that just aren't my typical go-to. But in playing with this palette and creating looks with it, I have noticed that it's much more neutral than I thought it was. Like, cover this up, okay? Cover this up. Ignore Faye. Like, look at all of these neutral shades. You have like a neutral quad right here. You have Hollywood, which is neutral. You have some peachy neutral shades. It really is half neutral, half colorful. So if you're someone who likes to play in color a little bit, or you like neutrals, but you're interested in trying to play with color, I think this is a great palette. I love the quality. I think it's amazing. I like that I can apply the shimmers with a brush and I don't have to use my finger, and I still get that great pigmentation. The mattes are super creamy and blendable. I love that I have this bare shade that I can set all over the lid. I like that I have this bright inner corner shade. Champagne Problems is a beautiful shade. So again, this is coming in the number 2 spot, and I think that it can hang. I don't know what my purchases have in store. I don't know what the rest of 2023 has in store palette-wise, but I can definitely see this one ranking toward the top by the end of the year. In the number 1 spot, if you do follow me and you are aware of my purchases for the year, then you probably know that it is the Full Fantasy palette, which was a collaboration between Lunar Beauty and Laura Lee Los Angeles, or best friends Manny and Laura. I have this eye look on right now. I used this palette to create it. I did create 2 looks initially, and then I've done 4 more looks, which should be coming soon. I'm working on editing it. I think this will be up first, so stay tuned if you want to see this look and 3 others. So a total of 6 looks with this palette. Y'all, this is just me. This is just me. I have not tried Laura Lee Los Angeles shadows. However, I have tried Manny's Lunar Beauty. I have the Nude Prism. I knew that I liked that formula. This formula feels very similar. I like the color story. I've had a lot of people ask me about this versus Nude Prism, and I actually forgot to talk about that as I was filming these looks, so I should add that clip in to my video. But one thing that I've been telling people when they're asking me about this versus Nude Prism is I think the quality is great on both of them. I love both of them. Nude Prism is going to give you very, very nude vibes. This, you have neutral vibes, but you also have fun pops of color. You can do a deep smoky look, but you can also keep it light. You have some golds, you have some bronze, you have these like purpley shades, you have this fun airy shade. Full Fam is a great shade. There is much more of a variety here. So if you just want quick, basic, neutral, Nude Prism. If you want neutral with a bit of flair, a little bit more fun, I would go with Full Fantasy. I like them both. I love the quality. I've definitely been very excited to reach for this palette more, and I mean, it's definitely a heavy number one for me. It's a heavy number one. It would take a lot for a palette to top this one. Now, Natasha Denona formula is my favorite, and I did not get the Yucca palette, I didn't get that one. But you never know what's gonna happen. You don't know what is going to happen from now through December, but I mean, this is a heavy number one, y'all. So that is it for my palette ranking, the 12 palettes, or 10 that I've tried and 2 that I have so far this year in 2023. I would love to know your thoughts down below. Did you guess my number one correctly? Also, what is your top palette for the year? What have you tried? Even if you haven't tried several, maybe you've just tried 1 or 2, maybe you're shopping your stash. What has been your favorite palette? It doesn't have to be brand new, but what has been your favorite palette so far this year in 2023? I would love to know. Otherwise, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.